So the stock market is currently approaching new all-time highs during extended trading hours. With that being said, I'm going to be preparing you to trade the best setups at the best prices. As we are approaching new all-time highs, I strongly believe this is going to be a great opportunity to day trade put options. I'm going to walk you through the game plan in terms of the levels of interest and what needs to happen for the confirmations at these levels for us to execute this idea where the SPY can potentially flip from bullish to bearish heading into tomorrow for a day trading opportunity on put options. Inside of Team Roar, we've been absolutely crushing it. Uncle Tio had 2 swing trades where he ended up making multiple 100% profit returns on Zillow and Upstart. He also had a phenomenal day trade on the day with Zillow where he made over 100% profit return. G-Roar ended up having a 100% plus profit return on NVIDIA calls. And then I ended up going 3 for 4 on the day. During the Power Hour trading session, I absolutely crushed it. I went 3 for 3 during the Power Hour trading session. The first trade that I made was on SPX puts. I timed it perfectly, and this was all within the last 30-minute candlestick. I ended up making a 100% profit return on SPX puts. Then I ended up buying SPY 570 calls at the exact lows. The low was 12 cents a contract. I got in at 14 cents a contract, 570 calls. I held them through extended hours trading session, and I ended up selling 2 minutes into after hours trading session at 42 cents a contract for a 200% plus profit return. And I also had a 100% profit return on SPX calls as it was uptrending during the Power Hour trading session. I'm going to be walking you through the unique trading strategies that I use to buy these SPY calls at the exact lows. Let's get straight into the unique price action trend analysis. So in terms of the SPY, I went back throughout the daily chart and I simply analyzed on how it normally reacts when it forms this type of pattern. It's been, trending to the sideways, forming these green pins. Now you have this red kind of bearish daily candlestick. So based off of what I'm seeing, man, this is one example right here in terms of showing you, right? You have this overall red bearish daily candlestick closing into the middle. And then prior to that, you had this, uptrend to the, slanted uptrend right on the daily chart. You can see the next day, the SPY ended up having a break above the highs, and then it sold off very, very hard. And another situation where I saw this throughout the daily chart, I'm going to walk you through this, man. This is very simple. You can see right here, you have that same daily candlestick towards major resistance. The next day, it starts to uptrend a little bit, then it sells off. So in terms of how the SPY normally reacts when it forms this kind of trend on the daily chart is likely going to be a bull trap when the SPY starts pushing for new all-time highs. Also, in terms of the consistent trends, I spoke about this in the last video that I ended up making. Very, very simple. So in terms of the consistent trends that the SPY has been having, it's been having these very small micro all-time high breakouts, and then it tends to sell off. Nothing too crazy in terms of recently, but it tends to drop. So it has a nice spike above new all-time highs, and then it starts to sell back off, and it keeps on repeating this overall pattern. It's like it pushes a little bit higher, and then it starts to drop back down. So we're likely going to be in that same situation. I also addressed in terms of the last video where, it's likely going to be a good opportunity once we start going above 573 new all-time highs to be buying those put options. Now, in terms of strategy talk, it is very hard to time and to get in at the exact top when we are pushing for new all-time highs. And in terms of this situation on how the daily chart looks, I'm not going to be very interested in trying to buy call options at these overbought levels as an overall day trader. So there's multiple strategies that you can use in this situation. Use the pre-market chart. See if there is some sort of bull trap, some sort of resistance. If you see like a 1 to 2 point drop in the pre-market and the SPY starts to spike back towards that resistance level, you can try put options at that level if you're seeing a 30 bearish closing candlestick, right? So that's one thing you can do. You can just wait for a small drop, 1 to 2 points, whether that's in the pre-market. If it doesn't happen in the pre-market, then you can wait during the normal trading hours. And then when it spikes back up, you can try to buy put options if you're seeing the 30-minute bearish closing candlestick, right? And it doesn't have to be at the exact resistance level. It could be at support in a sense. So if you are seeing, in terms of a situation, I'll just draw this out here real quick. If you are seeing the SPY form resistance, right? Let's say this is resistance, and then it has a small drop. This small drop, the low of that, that's going to be your support. And then it spikes back up, forms a double top, and then let's say it crashes, right? So if it spikes back up, not to that double top, but to that previous support, where it dropped and it triggered that massive bull trap, you can try put options at that overall level. That strategy, in a sense, would be previous support to react as a resistance, right? You identified a key breakdown level. Once it drops that key breakdown level and it spikes back up, you try to short the overall retest. That's another strategy you can do, right? So that's one tip that I can give you heading tomorrow in terms of the new all-time high situation. Another thing you can do is you can measure the overall moves. Every single time the SPY has been pushing for these new all-time highs, it hasn't really been massive breakouts. You know, the massive moves were mainly these gaps, and it is currently having a nice gap up, especially for this overall slow price action into this week, right? So with that being said, you know, the massive moves to the upside have really been throughout these gaps when we're pushing for the new all-time highs. So another thing in terms of measuring the move, I would say like a 2-point move. So SPY ended up closing at $570.04, right? That's going to be the new previous closing price heading tomorrow. Right now, it's nearly at new all-time highs. So in terms of that situation, a 2-point move from where we open up at. So wherever the SPY opens up at, if it has not had a massive pullback, if it has not had a nice 1 to 2 point drop during the pre-market, you can wait for a 2-point spike above the pre-market highs. Now, once you begin to see those 30 bearish closing candlesticks, right? 30-minute bearish closing candlesticks, you're going to want to try to buy put options in that sense, right? So with that being said, that's the overall game plan heading into tomorrow, right? Now, in terms of measuring the overall price action, so in terms of the overall levels, 573. Next level above that, you can measure by 2 points, call it like 575. Under 573, you're looking at 570. You're looking at 570. Below 570, you're looking at 569. Below that, you're looking at 567. So in terms of the game plan I have for you, like I said, is mainly going to be focused on buying put options. That's going to be my main game plan heading into tomorrow, right? Make sure you use confirmations. It's very dangerous to be buying calls on these new all-time highs, but you don't want to be trying to time the top overall perfectly, but it shouldn't be too hard to do in a sense. Just wait for things to play out, wait for a pullback to initially happen, wait for the 30-minute candlestick confirmations, right? Don't have FOMO, don't have fear of missing out, wait for the moves to come to you. Be very, very patient. So that's the overall analysis heading tomorrow, along with the overall levels. Like I said, at the very moment, I do not have a game plan in terms of buying call options with this new all-time high moves. So personally, if I'm not seeing any reasons to buy puts, is mainly going to be on the sidelines. But then, of course, I have a new game plan heading into market open and then during normal trading hours. This is just the nightly game plan. There's more game plans. As the chart continues to develop, as the story continues to unfold, there's more game plans, there's new information, there's new levels, there's new patterns, there's new trends. This is what I'm simply providing in terms of the nightly analysis, right? I'm not going to trade solely based off of this. This is just one metric that I use to prepare myself for the following day, right? There's the morning plan with the new pre-market price action, and then there's the normal trading hours plan when the new bull and bear traps get created. So just be aware of this heading into new all-time highs, right? If you study the new all-time high pattern, it's been trapping the bulls in terms of the day trades, right? And if you've been studying the recent gap ups on the SPY, it tends to drop back down a little bit in a sense. So just look for the bearish 30-minute confirmations heading into tomorrow. Now, let's get into the trades, man. So first things first, man, I'm going to start off with my overall trades first. Let's get into it, man. So we're going to be breaking down my trades. So I started trading during the middle of the day. You guys know I do not trade during the morning trading session. I will look to follow some of the morning trades inside of Team Roar. Uncle Tio and G-Roar, they've been absolutely crushing it every single morning. Now, with that being said, in terms of the trades that I ended up making today, I started off with one loss on SPY call options. The trade did not simply just work out. And then on Power Hour, I went 3 for 3. You guys know I trade best during the Power Hour trading session. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the Power Hour trades that I ended up making. I'm going to recap 2 out of 3 of them, right? So let's get into it, man. So in terms of every trade I make, it's not solely based off of education. Some of them are just based off of intuition, right? But 2 out of the 3 trades that I ended up making, were mainly educational. So I'm going to break these down for you. Let's get straight into it. So in terms of the power hour trading session, like I said, before this, I had one loss on 571 calls. It simply did not work out. But let's get into this, man. So puts. Why did I buy puts at 3:34 p.m.? So in terms of what I was seeing on the 30-minute chart, I was seeing the SPY was going to drop first. And then once it drops, it's going to start to recover and it's going to close the 30-minute candlestick very, very strong. Now, the reason why I believe that is because of the 30-minute chart. So in terms of what I was seeing on the 30-minute chart, this was the pattern. I talk about this all the time. If you go back throughout my previous lessons, you're going to see me speak about this pattern all the time. The 3 slanted red candlestick pattern, right? So I'm going to walk you through this overall situation in terms of what I was seeing. So in a sense, if you look right here, you have these 3 slanted candlesticks to the downside, right? You have these 3 slanted candlesticks to the downside. You have these overall 3 slanted candlesticks to the downside, right? And then you can see right here, you have these 3 slanted candlesticks to the overall downside, right? So you have a similar pattern. And you could see when you have this sideways pattern, right? If you're just looking at this chart, you see how that looks identical, looks like the same exact thing is happening just at slightly different prices, right? So I was looking at this overall pattern. I was saying, okay, we have the 3 slanted red candlestick patterns. And in terms of a foundation, when you see this overall pattern, it's a reversal pattern. Once you're seeing a 90-minute slanted trend like this, you're going to want to see a nice trend reversal pin, ideally, or a bullish reversal 30-minute candlestick on the third, candlestick for the 90-minute mark in total. And you want to stack a foundation. The foundation could be the gap reversal strategy. It could be the SPY is at key support, not the best foundation, but it helps, right? But in terms of one stack, you could say in a sense, we had a lot of strong bottom wick support, as you could see right here at this, 569.30 and 569.50 overall level, where the SPY has been having massive moves to the upside from the support. So if it cannot crack below the support, it's going to start to quickly spike back to that 571 overall range, right? If it does start to crack that support, then it's going to drop back down to 567.70. So in terms of one of the bullish reversal trading patterns was, like I said, 3 slanted red 30-minute candlesticks to the downside. I talk about this all the time, right? And it bottomed at key support and it formed a bottom wick. So what happened the next 30 minutes? Next 30 minutes, you could see the SPY right here. It had a drop and it dropped back down to the previous 30-minute lows. And then once it dropped back down to the previous 30-minute lows, the SPY had a very bullish reversal and ended up closing very, very strong at the highs of this 30-minute candlestick, retesting the previous highs and breaking above that. So when I saw this pattern where we had the 3 slanted red candlesticks, right? And if you look at this candlestick right here and this candlestick right here is nearly identical, I told myself the game plan is going to be to buy put options towards the opening, because the SPY is going to start to retest back towards these wicks. And then once it starts to retest and drop back towards those wicks, it's likely going to reverse and close very, very strong in the green, like it did on this overall situation, right? So that's how I came up with the overall theory. And the foundation was that strong support level. The support was holding for such a long period of time. You have a 90-minute floor of all these bottom wicks at this make or break support. So in a sense, this was the foundation to that 90-minute trend reversal overall pattern, right? The foundation, and again, in terms of this foundation, it's nothing really special. It's simply just support. You can see you have all the support right here. If the SPY forms these wicks at the support, it tends to go bullish, right? So if the SPY's holding 90 minutes fucking straight, and then it's forming higher support right here, and then you have this 3 slanted red candlestick, if it's gonna drop under this red 30-minute candlestick right here, and it starts to drop back towards these wicks, it's likely going to spike and close strong and bullish. So if you look at the overall trend, the exact pattern repeated itself to an exact T. So the game plan was to buy put options towards the opening of that 30-minute candlestick, expecting it to drop first. Now, if you do that, you have to be aware that you're going against the overall trend, because the 30-minute candlestick is going to close green. But if we can get a good entry early into the opening of the 30-minute candlestick, you can make a very, very quick move on puts for 100%. And then you can flip once you exit the puts, and once the SPY drops back down towards these lows, you can switch sides, and then you can buy the calls, playing for the strong 30-minute closing candle, right? And then if you don't want to fight the trend, you can simply wait for it to drop, and then you could just buy the call options. So with that being said, I decided to trade it both ways, capturing this pattern and trend to an exact fucking T. You gotta ask yourself, man, how many traders do you know see the market this way? This is how my third eye captures the market with the 30-minute chart. I analyze foundations. In terms of the foundation, it was support. I have many strategies in terms of the foundation. It could be the gap reversal strategy when the SPY fills the gap and then has a reversal. It can be the break and retest where SPY's having a bullish day. It breaks above a resistance level, drops back down. That previous resistance retest for the first time, reacts to support. It could be SPY as a bearish day. It cracks under key support and then it breaks down under that support, spikes back up, forms a new lower high for that previous breakdown to react as a new lower high, a new resistance level, right? Those are some foundational pieces. And then I use the 30-minute chart, the 30-minute confirmations to confirm that the strategy is going to work. This is just some of the basics to dissecting the overall chart, right? So in terms of how I like to break down the overall chart, I don't use the weekly chart too much, but I like to start macro first. So macro can be the weekly chart, the daily chart, and then from there, in terms of the intraday chart, I mainly just trade the 30-minute chart and the 1-minute chart. A lot of the traders that I know within my group, they like the 5-minute chart as well. But for me personally, it's mainly just the 30-minute and daily chart is my macro intraday wise. And then the micro, the very short term, is the 1-minute chart. That's how I like to break things down, right? So my macro is really that 30-minute piece, and then the micro is that 1-minute piece. Now, with that being, that's what works best for me. Now, with that being said, in terms of the overall trades, man, so let me show you, man. In terms of this SPX trade, I'm gonna walk you through this. So I ended up buying these puts at the exact fucking lows using that overall foundational strategy of the key support with the 90-minute slanted red downtrend, then it's going to crash first and then spike for the bullish 30-minute closing candle. So at 3:34 p.m., you can see right here, I ended up buying 5715 puts at 100 a contract at 3:34 p.m. Right here on the option chain, this is 3:34 p.m. I got in towards the exact lows and I sold the peak of this exact candle. It went to 240 a contract at the speed of fucking light. Within 5 minutes, those puts went up over 140%. And I sold the exact peak on that. As you could see, I ended up selling at 3:39 p.m. towards the exact peak. And then the game plan from there was to switch to calls. I made it very, very clear. Next trade is to be ready on fucking calls, man. I'm capturing this trend both fucking ways. Like I said, if you don't want to fight the trend, you could have just waited to buy the calls. But in this situation, it made sense to fight that overall trend because the 30-minute candlestick just opened up and the SPY was at key resistance and it was due for a drop. And I looked at the prices on SPX puts and they were extremely fucking cheap. So I told myself, man, these puts are likely going to go from 1 to 250 to 300 very, very quickly. So, I got at 100 and I got out at 205. Now, the next trade, I ended up buying SPY 570 calls at 14 cents. Now, in terms of SPY contracts, you have 15 minutes during the after hours market from 4 to 4:15 p.m. on SPY, not on SPX. You can exit your contracts during that overall window, right? If your broker allows you to do that. But during the after hours trading session, you can do that, right? So you have time. It buys you more time. And one of the keys to trading options is to have time on your overall side, man. You can hold and the contracts can go in the money. So you're buying an extra 15 minutes in a sense, trading the SPY contracts. Now, with that being said, you're going to see big moves happen during after hours all the time. So I ended up buying these 570 calls at 14 cents a contract at 3:40 p.m. As you can see, if you go to 570 calls, I bought these calls at the exact fucking lows. Who the fuck do you know is teaching you this information and then executing the trades at the exact fucking lows? Look at the fucking chart right here. The exact lows. A trend reversal doji candlestick on the option fucking chart. The low was at 12 cents. I got in at 14 cents. Look at after hours. The massive move occurred as soon as the market closed. Right here went to 35 cents. And then during after hours, they went to 49 fucking cents. I got out right here during the after hours trading session at the exact fucking peak. I sold these contracts at 41 cents. I made it very clear. Everything it is that I'm telling you in this video, I make this very clear in real time. The 30-minute candlestick is supposed to close strong. The game plan is to buy calls on the dip. Once the SPY was dipping, I was buying those SPX calls. You're going to see me do this all the time during the power hour trading session. I'll buy SPY calls first. The SPY calls are super fucking cheap. They're only 14 cents. If this trade doesn't work out, it doesn't fucking matter. If we get a nice dip, it's going to be a great opportunity to take the fucking L on the SPY calls or just hold it. You can hold the contracts. That's what I do. And then you buy these SPX calls, and that makes it all back and more. There's going to be certain situations where, in a sense, during power hour, you're going to want to lose. In a sense, you're going to want to lose on the first trade. If I make a trade on SPY during power hour, in certain situations, I literally won't care, or I literally want to lose because I know a better opportunity will present itself later on throughout that day with SPX, right? So in that situation, man, I'll just look to take both. But it made perfect sense because I believed it was going to close strong and in the money, right? But sometimes I'll just do it out of the risk reward. You know, sometimes I'll just take the overall trade a little bit early on SPY calls because they're cheap. And then if it doesn't work out, I'll wait for the move on SPX. Or if you don't want to have that one loss, right, then you could just wait for the trade later on. But if you're buying far the money option contracts, you should know how to be profitable. If you're trading during the most volatile times, you know, market open, and especially during power hour, you should be able to be profitable with a 50% win rate. But over here, we have a 90% win rate. Now, with that 90% plus win rate, now with that being said, you know, I made it very, very, very clear that I'm holding until fucking close. And like I said, man, if there was a massive fucking drop, I would have been fucking ecstatic. If the calls didn't go in the money and these went to fucking zero, I would have just bought SPX fucking calls and made a 300% return at the speed of fucking light. Now, with that being said, man, this trade was fucking phenomenal. Like I said, I sold these at the exact fucking peak right here at 4:02 p.m. I ended up selling those at 41 cents a contract. And then I also had this trade at 3:56 p.m., 4 minutes before the market closed. I ended up buying these 720 calls at 100 cents. And then minutes after I got in this trade, these calls went up 50%, man. See, as soon as I got in, 105 and then 150, and then they ended up closing at 155. They spiked to about 200 a contract. Absolutely crushed it, going 3 for 3 during the power hour trading session. So that's the overall breakdown in terms of the SPY and why I was bearish at first. Then it's switching the calls, expecting a strong bullish close. In terms of Monday and Tuesday, it was fairly slow into this week. When the market's slow, I like to observe. I like to wait for the big moves to happen. I had a very nice trade with a 100% profit return on puts. And then I had 2 small L's. I really didn't do much in terms of Monday and Tuesday. I was more on the sidelines. G-Roar, he absolutely crushed it. Uncle Tio, they absolutely crushed it. When the market is slow, I'm not going to be doing too much in a sense. Like I said, we focus on buying far out of the money option contracts. So in terms of this overall strategy, when the market becomes slow, you have to be more an observer and you have to be very patient. And then in a sense, you're going to really want to eliminate that middle part of the day session unless it makes sense and there's high volatility and you're taking advantage of the momentum. But you're really going to want to just focus on the morning and the power hour trading session and be extremely patient with the overall plays and let them come to you. So I was very, very disciplined in a sense by just waiting for the plays to come to me. Like I said, before this week, I really didn't do much until today. Today, things finally picked up, and I saw some strategies with the 30-minute chart. I didn't see much on the 30-minute chart throughout Monday and Tuesday, so I was mainly just sitting on the sidelines in terms of my own personal trading. You have to have that discipline. If the market's not giving you anything in terms of what you have to work with and what you know works best for you, then you just have to sit on your hands and wait for the market to come to you and give you something, right? It's going to happen. It's just going to take time, man, but you have to adapt accordingly, right? So with that being said, man, you know, when the market's really slow like that, you're going to want to trade less and wait for the best place to come to you, man. And another thing with the far out of the money option contracts, you're going to want to sell for smaller wins and quicker moves and go closer to the money. Now, the good news is, you know, when the market is more slow like this, the contracts tend to be a lot cheaper. So you don't have to go as far out of the money to do very, very well. But one thing you do have to adapt to is selling the moves quicker. Typically, we're not going to be holding very, very long. One easy way to sell moves quicker is to trade during the most volatile times, market open and power hour trading session, right? Now, with that being said, in terms of the other trades that were made inside of Team Roar, G-Roar, he ended up killing it during the morning trading session. As you can see right here, he had a play on NVIDIA, 127. NVIDIA calls for 55 cents. The SPY calls, they really didn't do too much, but the NVIDIA calls absolutely crushed it from 55 cents all the way to right here, as you can see, to 114 cents a contract. Absolutely crushed it on the NVIDIA play, right? So in terms of Team Roar, you're going to see these are the best morning trades you've ever come across. I'm telling you, man, there is nothing like this. In terms of the morning trades, it's unbelievable, man. You're not going to be able to find any trader out there who has better morning trades than G-Roar. I'm telling you, it's impossible. You're not going to be able to find any other trader out there who has better morning trades inside of Team Roar, man. It's fucking phenomenal. So with that being said, in terms of Uncle Tio is absolutely crushing it, man. I'm going to walk you through in terms of what he did today real quick. So In terms of the swing trades, man, he had 2 swing trades, one on Zillow and one on Upstart, where he ended up making multiple 100% profit returns ranging from 3 to 500%. And then he had a day trade on Zillow. So I'm gonna walk you through this here real quick, man. So as you can see, in terms of the swing trades, man, he absolutely crushed it. He had to trade Upstart, went up over 300% on Upstart. And then in terms of the Zillow trade, he had a very nice day trade on Zillow. So I like the consistency, man. He's following a small group of stocks that work very well for him. And you know, I noticed he likes to make some swings once in a while, and then he'll make day trades out of the swing trades, which is very, very smart to do in a sense as well. So you know, that's another great thing in terms of many swing traders. If you know how to day trade, it's a great opportunity as you're swing trading to find day trading opportunities within the swings. And I've noticed he's been doing that. So 67 strike Zillow calls at 77 cents a contract. And then he averaged his cost down as it was dropping. And that was a 100% profit return. You could see he was averaging his cost down, adding to the position. And then the Upstart swing trade up over 400% on that. And then last add on Zillow at 51 cents. So as Zillow was dropping, he was averaging his cost down, and he fucking crushed it, saying it was going to reverse hard. Now, with that being said, man, as you could see, we absolutely crushed it as a whole, man. Look at the fucking results. Zillow calls up 35%. He just made the trade. And then as you could see, up over 108% on Zillow calls. And then in terms of the, you know, overall swing trades, he crushed it, making multiple 100% profit returns on Zillow and also on Upstart. The swing trades were his runners, right? So with that being said, man, for those of you who are serious about surrounding yourself with a secured private organization, is going to be the first link down below within the description, right? So in terms of what we do, we buy cheap, low risk, far out of the money option contracts, and we're known for selling them deep in the money for the biggest percentage gains within the market, and we have the highest success rate in terms of doing this, right? And you also gain access to a real-time zero date options trading alert system, right? So in terms of this zero date options trading alert system that we've created, in terms of some background to it, some things that we do differently is we do not use stop losses. If you can't afford to risk, you know, fucking $14 on SPY calls to make $41 a fucking contract, then trading is just not for you. If you can't afford to risk 14 cents to make 41 cents, this is just not for you. This is very low risk. At the most, you put in your max risk per trade, meaning at the most, you lose your max risk per trade, just as any other trader. But in terms of what any other trader doesn't have is they don't have this unique system. You see, the beauty of this system is we don't need a stop loss because at most we put in our max risk per trade into the contracts, meaning we could just let them expire worthless. There's no need for a stop loss. Many traders lose because they don't see how trades react when they're down and it hits a certain level and they just get stopped out, right? So we don't use stop losses. At the worst, we'll look to sell the moves, but we tend to just let the contracts expire worthless. It's very low risk, right? And then in terms of the wins, we're winning massively. 200% wins, 300% wins every single month. We have 3 1,000% gains at the bare minimum. You're going to see during Power Hour trading session. Also, if you leave runners on the market open trades, you see if you watch throughout the videos in the history of this channel, man. So with that being said, we don't use stop losses. We've removed the stop loss. And since we're buying far the money option contracts, we have the entire day to hold and for them to go in the money, right? So in terms of my experience on the dead plays are the trades that drop 50%. If we're down 50% on a play and we hold it, 70% of the time, it comes back to life and it goes in the money. And we could sell in the money for a nice overall profit. Now, another unique thing to our trade alert system is we use profit stops. So when we are up a little bit in terms of our trading style, a little bit for us is like 10, 15, 20%. When we're green and up a little bit on a trade, we like to add to winners. We tend to avoid to adding to losers, as sometimes we'll do it if it makes sense, but we like to quickly add to winners because when we're up a little bit and we get a winning confirmation in the trade, we tend to win and we tend to win very fucking big and we tend to win 90% plus of the time. So with that being said, we add to winners, right? And then once we add to the winners, our average cost goes up a little bit. So the way we protect that is by setting a profit stop. A profit stop is going to ensure that we do not go green to red on a trade. If you are already green on a trade and you set a profit stop, it's going to be impossible for you to go red, right? But if you set a stop loss, you're going to be losing, right? So we remove the stop loss. We have the entire day for the contracts to go in the money. So those two things right there, we're doing the complete opposite of what everyone else is doing, right? We're putting in our max risk per trade at most. So we have the entire day to have the contracts go to zero. Also, SPY contracts, you can hold for 15 minutes. That buys you an extra 15 minutes during an after hours move, right? So we're stacking all the odds in our favor. We've created the most unique trading alert system. And what we do as well is when we set the profit stop, we move the profit stop up. As the trade is going in our favor, you don't want to experience a massive pullback where you get back the bulk of your gains and you get stopped out for a very small win on your profit stop. So as the trade works in your favor, you move the profit stop up. Moving it up is going to ensure that you protect the bulk of your profits before the trade has a big rejection against you, right? And we also, sell into moves, right? At key levels, we'll look to sell into the moves. We leave runners. That's just some background to the unique trading alert system. Like I said, man, we have tons of members. If you're serious about joining, it's the first link down below within the description. In terms of the secured private organization, you're also getting access to multimillionaires, man. I'm telling you, you can chat and trade alongside multimillionaires. G-Roar and Uncle Tio are both multimillionaires, man. And I'm telling you, if you're serious about making money, this secured private organization is the first link down below within the description. If you want to trade alongside with us, we have an amazing community. With that being said, I'm going to be signing off. We're going to absolutely crush it tomorrow. Now is the time. If you want to join us, it's the first link down below within the description. And I will see you guys tomorrow within the chat.